because it's not going to take very long, but we just have to get through it. So it's going to be called A Few Helpful Thoughts on Factoring Quadratics.
What are you doing? Writing down how helpful thoughts of factoring quadratics.
Okay, a few helpful thoughts. This is what I figured out that you guys are not, a lot of you are not getting from that last homework assignment. Okay, and so it's really important. First of all, you have learned way more than you were aware in terms of factoring. Way more. I'm sure most of you think, oh, you just learned a few things. You've learned so many things. I have taught you so many things in terms of factoring. I have taught you how to factor out, let's just list them, factor out the greatest common factor. I have taught you how to factor by grouping. And that's with 4 terms, right? 4 terms. I have taught you how to factor out the blocks. Let's see, what else? I have taught you, oh yeah, I have taught you how to factor the difference of 2 squares. I have taught you how to factor basic trinomials, quadratic trinomials, quadratic trinomials, where a is equal to 1. And then I've taught you how to factor quadratic trinomials where a is not equal to 1. A is something else, right? I have also taught you how to factor out a -1. And that's, I'll stop there. That's good enough. That's a lot of things. That is a lot of things. Each one of those things listed there is different, right?
Also
yes.
find the zeros.
Say it again?
Find the zeros.
And I have taught you how to find the zeros, which is factoring, so thank you so much. So, and I've taught you how to find the zeros. Right. Perfect. Thank you so much, Lila. What I find, though, is when I first started teaching you one thing, and you learned it, you had no trouble doing it. Remember when I gave you the difference of 2 squares sheet? I mean, you guys all did it within like 4 minutes. It was front and back. It was 2 sides of a page. You did it in 4 minutes. X squared minus 81, x plus 9, x minus 9, right? You did it just like that. What I'm finding, though, is that now that you have all these different things in your belt, tool belt, I give you something and then you don't know what to do with it. You don't know, well, which one do I use? Which thing do I use? Oh, I didn't even put Gary's terrific trick, did I? Right? Well, that's sort of this, right? That is sort of this. So Gary's trick. I'll just say trick. Right? So I've taught you all these things, and it's just hard. So I want you to remember the most important one of all of these. It's the one that you will always try to do first. Always. And if you remember this, you won't get stuck. A lot of people got stuck on the homework because they didn't remember this. This is the one you try first. Always try that first. You factor out the greatest common factor first. Then, then you can, you will be amazed at how many things will be solved quite easily. All right, so now I'm going to give you an example, a couple examples. One, on the homework, there was something like this. X squared plus 10x equals 0. That is a quadratic, right? It is quadratic because it's an x squared, right? You always want it to equal 0, right? It equals 0. So what do? Factor out the greatest common factor. That's the first thing you always try. Is there a factor in both of these?
X.
X. Okay, great. So x plus 10 equals 0. All right. It's not a blob times a blob equals 0. It's just an x times the blob equals 0. But it's still two numbers multiplied times each other. That thing that says if a times b equals 0, either a equals 0 or b equals 0. So this is my a and this is my b. So either x equals 0 or x plus 10 equals 0, which means either x equals 0 or x is equal to negative 10, because I'm going to subtract 10 from both sides to solve for x. So that's pretty easy. I know a lot of you guys got that, but a bunch of you didn't. Do you see the difference? It's not a trinomial. It's still quadratic, but it's not a trinomial. First thing, always try to factor out the greatest common factor. Okay. Can I erase that? Or should I leave it up? I'll leave it up. I'll erase it in a second. Here's number 2. What if I gave you this? 3x squared minus 21x equals 0. 3x squared minus 21x equals 0. All right, you look at that, and a lot of times kids don't know what to do. They think, oh my God, what do I do? That's what you do. You always try that first. You always try factoring out the greatest common factor first. Is there a greatest common factor?
Yes.
3x. So you go 3x, parentheses, x minus 7, parentheses, equals 0. If a times b equals 0, then either a equals 0 or b equals 0. So 3x is equal to 0 or x minus 7 is equal to 0. Divide both sides by 3. What's 0 divided by 3? 0. So x is 0. Add 7, x is 7. Right? So there's your answer for that one. Now I'm going to erase this top one. This is my last one. What if, remember like these, quadratic trinomials where you use Gary's terrific trick? Hey, watch this. So for number 3. 10x squared plus 22x plus 4 equals 0. All right, it equals 0, right? I notice that in front of the x squared it's not 1, so I'm going to have to probably do Gary's terrific trick. Is that what I should do? Gary's terrific trick right now?
No.
What's the first thing you always try? First thing. What? Factor out the greatest common factor. What goes into all of these? 2. So let's do that. So we've got 10x, excuse me. Sorry, we have 5x squared plus 11x plus 2 equals 0, right? Now there's something really cool. There's one more problem I have to show you. But what's really cool about it equaling 0 is that anytime you have a factor that you don't want, like we've got 2 as a factor, I don't want that there. I mean, it's kind of a mess, you know what I mean? But if that whole gobbledygook equals 0, then look what I can do. I can divide both sides by 2. Those cross out. Divide that by 2. What happens to the 2? It disappears. Totally disappears. So all I have now, instead of 2 times this equals 0, I just have this equals 0. So I have 5x squared plus 11x plus 2 equals 0. Now I'm ready to use Gary's terrific trick. A times c. 5 times 2. Do you need me to do that? 5 times 2 is 10. Factors of 10 that add up to 11. 10 times 1. 5x squared plus 10x plus 1x plus 2 equals 0. Factor by grouping. Factor out the blob. X equals whatever. Right? You guys know how to do that. Right? I'm not going to do that. Last one. Related to the 0. is this. I didn't write it down on my paper. I forgot. But what if I gave you this? F of x, so this is number 4. What if I gave you f of x is equal to, are you taking notes?
Yeah. I am.
I hope so. If f of x, okay, good. F of x is equal to negative 3x squared. I'm not going to factor this right now because I'm making this up off the top of my head. It's probably not factorable. Or it might be, but. Okay? So stop, please. Okay? Negative 3x squared plus 2x minus 7. I'm not going to I don't know if that's factorable because I'm just making up out of my top of my head. And I asked you to solve this. In other words, find the zeros. What do I do with the f of x?
Make it 0.
You make it 0. Because the f of x is the same as a y. Whenever you see f of x, you can think y. And if you're trying to find the zeros, you're trying to find it when this is 0. So you just make that 0. Okay, you with me? Last thing, what's the problem with this, the way it's written?
It's negative.
It's negative in front of the, x squared. It's negative 3x squared. I don't like that.
So you can
it's much harder to factor that. I noticed Isabel tried, and she actually factored it correctly, keeping the negative there. But it's way harder, and it's so easy to mess up. So easy to mess up. So this is what you do. And it's because of that lovely 0 there. It's so useful. You will get to love having it something equal to 0. Look at this. If I multiplied both sides by negative 1, what would that do? That would give me, what would I get on this side?
Negative 1.
0 times negative 1?
0.
0. Right? That would be 0. So that's 0 equals, now I just change all the signs. You guys hear me? You just change the signs. So it's 0 is equal to positive 3x squared minus 2x plus 7. I'm teaching.
I know.
Who's talking? Is it you?
What?
I'm hearing guys talking. I don't know. Is it you guys or John?
I wasn't saying
Okay,
a word.
all right. So I need it quiet.
Shut up.
Because I'm just wanting to finish this. So just by multiplying it times negative 1, I still kept my 0 here. And I just changed all my signs to positive. To the opposite sign. And now it's really easy to use Gary's terrific trick, just so I solve it. See what I mean? So given that, that's it. That's my lecture. And okay, I won't erase anything.